This is a session on the Performance Marketing Alliance. This is a new industry association we are starting. We are in the germination phase, and we have a number of volunteers that are helping us form this. What I thought I would do is start out with just a couple of slides that are describing sort of the formation structure that we have in place, and then we have a number of the folks who are helping form the formation by volunteering on working groups and on our formation advisory board. They're in the audience here. We should have a pretty productive dialogue in terms of questions you might have and answers that the folks involved might be able to provide you. And we'd love to get some feedback from you as well. Like I said, we're very early in our formation. Just a little background on myself, by the way. I've been in the performance marketing industry for almost 4 years. I came from Commission Junction, so I do have a skewed network perspective for sure. And it wasn't until I left CJ and started talking to a lot of the folks here about what an industry association should look like did I realize the diverse perspectives of the industry, the diverse needs that everyone has, and actually the reason why we probably will all benefit from an alliance, a professional association where we all can make sure our interests are represented properly to the world at large. Oops. So why now? Why the association? Well, there are a couple of things that happened fairly recently, and I think that's what's gotten everybody's attention. Who's heard of the New York tax law? This is something that, if you haven't heard about it, it was a state of New York that passed legislation that would charge internet revenue across state lines. So if you're a merchant in another state and you had affiliates who lived in New York, you were all of a sudden taxed for that revenue. And many merchants kicked their affiliates out of their program because they just couldn't afford to support affiliates and pay those sales taxes. There was a great session yesterday. A lot has changed in the past few weeks in terms of how that's impacting other states. California, for example, decided not to follow the lead of New York, which is a huge win, but we heard that the state of Washington is now considering it, so that's something to be concerned about. This was one issue where the legislators in New York really had no one representing affiliate marketing or performance marketing, and so they made big, huge, impactful decisions that impacted people's livelihood in their own state, and they had no idea that they were doing it that way. So it was really a lack of education. And I'm sure all of us have experienced lack of information or lack of education by other people involved in marketing or holding marketing budgets. They make these decisions without knowing much about affiliates or the industry. There was also a very interesting Smart Money article that came out a few months ago that really blasted the performance marketing industry, full of tons of misinformation, but it was mainstream press that got out there. And so I think without a single point for someone that's interested in knowing more about this industry to go and get valid information, these kinds of things are going to continue to happen. Lastly, as I've seen in this show, this is only my second affiliate summit. I was at the show last July in Miami. I can't believe the size and the maturity that this event has shown, and the number of exhibitors, the number of attendees, the caliber of attendees. We have so many decision makers that are coming to this show, and obviously this industry has matured tremendously in the past 10 or 11 years that it's been around. So getting started, I actually first got involved in discussions about this recent attempt in starting an association back in January at the last affiliate summit. I had talked to a number of people expressing my interest and desire to form an association. It seems obvious that this industry needs an association. I know there have been many attempts before and a lot of discussions, and I think what differentiated the previous attempts is that they were volunteer efforts. People were trying to do it on the side, but what always happened was their business needs took over, and so they didn't really have the ability to keep the momentum going. So I talked to a number of people in January who talked to a number of people at this very show and got a lot of positive feedback that this was the time to start an association. I also happened to speak to Mr. Anik Singhal over there of Affiliate Classroom, who said, you know what, I will donate your salary for a period of months if you can be dedicated 100% to try and get this association started. So it was the need of that sponsorship, that great donation of funds to be able to jumpstart this attempt. And really, it's just persistence. It's just making sure that we talk to enough people and get enough people involved. I think I've talked to about 200 people, and I know those 200 people have probably talked to 200 people. So I know the word is getting out there that we're forming. The process we undertook was to be as inclusive as possible of people in the industry, but also keep it small enough to actually make decisions to move forward. So we came up with kind of a two-step process. One is appointing an advisory board. So I talked to 100 people. We had a nominee list of 100 people, asked them if they wanted to be on this advisory board, and would they vote in people, their peers, to be on this advisory board. We had 11 seats that we chose, 2 affiliates, 2 merchants, 2 agencies, 2 networks, and 3 solutions providers. We want an odd number so that we can have a tiebreaker if we need it. And so we had 100 people vote. Almost everybody that I asked to vote voted, which is a great return. And we chose these 11 FAB members. In parallel, we launched working groups that focused on the various aspects of what we would need to form this association. And we asked for volunteers. And honestly, you know, if you've ever worked for a volunteer organization and you've tried to get more people to help, it's beg, borrow, and steal and make promises. I had 45 people immediately volunteer. I thought I'd have to fight for 6 people. So that's a tremendous amount of response, far exceeding anything we ever expected. So here is the FAB 11. It's kind of a big list on a small screen. And many of the people are here today. We actually had a meeting on Saturday evening. 8 out of the 11 FAB members attended that meeting. Affiliates and publishers. Mr. Scott Jangro, I saw you over there, and Mr. Michael Coley. On the merchant advertiser side, we have Mr. Brad Waller. Where'd you go, Brad? Back there. Hello. And Robert Drum. There you are. On the agency side, we have Brooke Schaff. Brooke, I saw you walk in. There you are. And Peter Figueredo. Is Peter here? He's at the show, and he was at a meeting. Can't make the session today. On the network side, we had Adam Weiss of Linkshare. And Chris Hanger of Google Affiliate Network. Chris, I thought I saw you here. Where'd you go? I swear you walked in the door. Oh, no? And on the, we called it other, sorry about that, my bad marketing term. These are solutions providers. We have Angel, what's your last name? Say it out loud. Jim Bozif. Kelly Stevens. Is Kelly here? And Lisa Piccirilli from Revenues Magazine. These were people that were voted in by 100 of their peers to represent the industry. Their job is to help ratify the formation process. So for each process step, we've created a working group. Scope and objectives is led by Sam Harrelson. Sam's over there. Actually, we're going to ask the working group leads to come up here as well, in case there are any specific questions on the working group. So Sam Harrelson, come on up. His team is focusing on the kind of the strategic vision and the objectives. What are we trying to do? And really, from a realistic perspective, what are we trying to do the first year? Dirk Price, are you in the house? Dirk's with eAccountable OPM, and his team has a very challenging set of tasks. Who is our membership going to be made up of? And how do we recruit them? And what kind of levels of membership are we going to have? Governance, Brooke Schaff. Do you want to come up, Brooke? What are the bylaws of this association going to be? How are we going to actually officially have guidelines for operation? Operations, Mr. Brad Waller. This is the nitty-gritty. How are we going to going to operate? What's the staff look like? There is one and maybe only one consensus so far, is that the people that have been involved in this agree that this needs to be a full-time, professionally run association to maintain the interests of the industry, to speak to the press, to fundraise, to speak to customers, to enable networking opportunities. And what would that professional staff look like? And the operations team is tasked to do that. And fundraising. Peter Bordis from Media Trust is leading our fundraising group. If we're going to be a self-sustaining operation, it's going to need a budget, it's going to need funds. So I'm gonna have people ask questions based on the progress we have so far, but just to give you some timelines, we're trying to be really aggressive. We had joint working group and FAB meetings, one Saturday afternoon and one Sunday night, and we actually had some fantastic discussions. I think there were over 25 people that participated in all, and just some great conclusions. We really just focused on membership, fundraising, and some ideas in terms of the board of directors structure. The FAB 11 will actually ratify or vote on some of the proposals. The working groups will take a lot of the debate and dialogue that we had over the weekend, take that back to their working groups, and kind of formalize them into recommendations. So by the end of August, we want the FAB 11 to actually ratify various aspects of forming the PMA. Again, this is just the formation phase. We're not looking too much beyond getting started, so that then the members will actively participate in terms of where we want to take the industry, the role that the association has in the industry. In Q4, we want to be able to start fundraising, have a board of directors elected, and we're looking at a founding membership period. This is something where we'll have a membership drive. People can actually sign up to join the PMA and have a real contribution in the rest of the formation of the organization. And then we want to have an official launch in January, where we open it up to the world. So with that, let's take some questions. We're going to have a microphone.
Bueller?
Oh, here's a question.
Would you all agree that the New York State tax issue was an important issue?
Yes.
And why has anybody involved with the FAB 4 or FAB 11 or whatever the number is contacted any of the people who were actively involved in finding a solution for the New York State tax issue? Because you use it as one of your reasons for forming. Now, I'm not saying that I didn't have some support from the people who are involved with the PMA or supporting the PMA, but we did not have any kind of contact with anybody who's sitting up there right now. And why is that? Because we formed as affiliates. We met and we did that all in about a 2-month period. We formed, we arranged a meeting, and we met and we found a solution. Now, wouldn't it have been to your benefit to participate in some kind of that process, even if it was to the point of just seeing the steps that we took in uniting a group of affiliates from New York State, gathering the support of people from within the whole industry on a network basis and a merchant basis?
It'd be great if we could, but we weren't anything to do it. There is no organization. We're individuals.
So were we in New York. We met in Albany as a bunch of individuals with a common goal.
None of us
The
in
goal was
Albany.
to find a solution.
Yeah.
You can smile and you can smirk and you can roll your eyes and you can say that we were not formed, we were not organized, but you used the New York tax issue as a reason for forming and recruiting other members and followers and support.
Well, nobody here is smirking, I can guarantee you. Everybody here really appreciates the work that people are doing out there. We're just saying...
Now, who's involved in the goals? Gentleman in the blue, I don't know your name.
Yeah, it's good. We're dealing more with sort of the general ambiguous, what are we setting up for? And certainly that's part of it. But there's a lot of other things that, we're looking at as well.
I know there's
but that's,
a lot of issues outside
Sure.
of the New York tax issue, but that's a critical issue.
Sure.
It's not just New York State, it's going to steamroll.
Sure.
So,
want to be involved in the whole entire process and see.
so
Maybe now when the next state comes along, you can do a little bit better because you saw what we struggled with or where we went wrong as.
Right. Well, the way the groups like the scope group and the membership group and these different groups were set up they were taken from that initial 100 or so people who volunteered and said they wanted to help out. So we basically, had that group of people sort of set up to work with. It wasn't necessarily something like a recruiting thing where we went out and actively were trying to talk to those kind of groups yet, because we're not at that point yet. I mean, honestly, it's still entirely too early to say, why haven't you done this? Because basically we've had 2 or 3 meetings and we're completely open to doing that. And I think we should be talking to you. What's that?
When were you appointed? I don't know the dates.
Nobody's been appointed.
I don't.
yeah, it's a volunteer effort.
Nobody's in
That-
charge of anything.
Right. Actually,
I think-
this is, you might want to have some
I
microphone.
thought I was going to sit up here about 5 minutes ago, but I took over I was asked to head up the scope group in late July. No, it wasn't.
Okay, now, wouldn't you have contacted me at some point since that July 28th meeting?
No, I haven't, but I definitely think we should. I mean, again, we've had 2 phone calls with a group of about 6 people that we pulled from those volunteers who said they would like to help in the scope group. There's no sort of reason to be antagonistic to either side yet. I mean, honestly, we're at that point now where we do need to be approaching all the groups who are working on things like the New York State side of things, as well as people who are working on recruitment and everything else. So.
Steve, did you have a
Well,
comment?
yeah, I mean, I think the thing, I'm just a volunteer working in one of the working groups, and I just want to be careful that we don't get off in the wrong negative direction here, because you have a huge issue in New York, but there's no organization to be involved with. We're trying to start an organization here. They couldn't speak for me even if they wanted to. They couldn't get involved. The organization would die if the people who are involved now tried to get involved in an issue without having an organization. We've got to get an organization built.
Be aware of the process.
So let me,
Understand what we're going through and what we're doing and how we're working it.
you
It
bet.
doesn't have to be one group doing everything or speaking for everybody. You can have 5 different affiliate type industry groups if you want, but you have to have a common goal and you have to work towards that common goal. And the way to work towards a common goal is to put all the politics and all that stuff aside.
I completely agree. And once we get
Absolutely.
We have a question, we need an answer over here.
Anything involving the New York tax issue. And all the others, we had all that different ideas of how we should approach it, but you know what? We still approached it. You don't have to agree to approach. You can approach it and work it from all the different angles. And I'm just saying that the PMA should have been in some way in contact with the group from New York. We're not an
There is no
There's no
PMA.
PMA.
there's,
We're just trying to form right now.
We're not even incorporated.
Well,
I think that's the main issue they're saying, is that they can't tackle anything until they become an organization.
I'm not saying.
You have to comment on the microphone, by the way, so that it can be recorded.
To get aware
can
of it, I mean, what happens if they form, and then they say, okay, we're ready to tackle this, and they get informed about it? Why does it have to be in real time? They
The
start.
New York tax issue is now.
But
That would be 6 months away.
Actually, many of the people up here are tackling it on an individual basis. I mean, from our perspective, we're very active members of the IAB and lobbying down in Washington right now. So, but as a group, the issue of the tax issue showed the need for an organization because, and very much to your point, you're right, because it is a very, very large and very fragmented industry. And we need to have a place that's open, objective, and fair, and that's going to be able to create a voice with everybody participating in it, and that's why we really wanted to have everybody come in here and ask questions and bring these types of points up so that the PMA can be formed and become that kind of place when these issues that come up that you know that you'll have someone going in and dealing with it. And it's a very important issue, and it's a very good point that you bring up, and it's exactly why we're all here and exactly why we're really happy to have everyone here to help us bring these issues up and what we can do now. And if there are things that we can do now and get involved with what your initiatives, my company's out of New York, I would love to speak with you and love to get involved.
Lisa, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry, Melanie, I have some voice problems today. I just wanted to say to you that I think what everyone was worried about is that if someone approached you and said that it was the PMA, that we would have given you the impression that we were further along and that maybe we could have helped or contributed. I, on a personal level, was following closely. I couldn't attend the meetings, but I was following closely what you guys were doing. I was hoping that you and some of the other folks who post things, I read those things, I like to be informed about them, but I think we all just felt that there wasn't really a group to go out and say, here we are as this group, but I hope that's not going to prevent you from, you know, wanting to help us be informed in the future if another issue like this comes up, because clearly you have the expertise. You did a great job in bringing people together and solving a problem. And, you know, I mean, everyone totally recognizes what you did, but we just weren't, no, I know you're not. I know you're not. But we weren't equipped to, like, formally enter that process whatsoever. But I want to continue to be educated. I hope you don't hold that against us.
I don't hold it against it, but as a New York affiliate, I resent the fact that the New York State tax issue was used as one of the reasons, not the sole reason, because there's hundreds of other issues within this industry that we need to address that are equally important, but you used it constantly. It was brought out there. If only we were formed, we could help the New York tax issue. If only, you know, this is the reason we have to exist to help the New York tax issue. But nobody has reached out to us to find out what
But Angel, you had a comment here? Let's listen. Let's let Angel comment here.
What was my answer, Angel?
No, you respond, you know, very quickly to that. But I think one of the things is actually, as an industry, we've all failed to act prior to the New York tax law coming into being. If we had acted as an industry prior to, you know, to clean up things as an industry, to not wait till government entities step in, right? We would have had more education in place. I mean, we've been in industry for a long time, and we still haven't put together an association. So if we're talking about overall failure to do something, it's an overall failure as an industry in general. There were members of the PMA that reached out. I mean, I guess I have to say I'm one because I am on the FAB, but one of the things was that I reached out to you as Angel and not as part of the PMA because they're you know, we are not organized. But I mean, the reason I reached out was because I felt the responsibility to take part in something like that. But as you know, and it's okay to also feel that New York has been kind of left out alone, because in a way, you know, there's a lot of people like Overstock, for example, who have left New York alone without helping New York out. But the association, for better or for worse right now, we're trying to organize, and they don't have the inside focus to reach out and jump out into a lobby thing. So if we reach out, it's going to be on a personal basis, as much as possible. But again, I think if there's any quote unquote fault, it's really as an industry for not having done this in 2000, 2001.
But you know what? Moving forward.
No.
So exactly, that's, and let me just clarify something that Angel said, which is the New York tax law was an eye-opener for everybody, where we said, holy, you know what, we as an industry are partly to blame because we are not organized. And this was a catalyst for everybody to say, you know what, we better get ourselves organized. I'm so sorry we weren't organized sooner to be able to help you. That was a deliberate decision, and we got counsel and guidance. I did personally. What can we do to help New York? And they said, you really can't do anything yet. There are great people. You bet. And it sounds like you got a lot of...
An individual from up there or from anywhere on that list of people who were nominated you to reach out.
I thought we did have a few people say that they reached out, so...
No, not...
Lisa?
Well, how many people total?
Money was totally different from vocal support.
Well, how many people total reached out to you? You know, if it was 1 out of 50 of us, did you get 1 out of 50 out of every affiliate in the world? You know, you had people that reached out, and that's great. There are other people that didn't reach out. That doesn't mean that the organization is bad or there's any issues. It's just people didn't reach out.
And we're trying to focus on formation. We need to get some traction, and that's really what we're trying to form.
You'll never have the support of this New Yorker, because you weren't there for me when I needed you, yet you used me as your reason for being there.
There's
not
no
true.
room.
No.
Okay,
that's-
Ken,
that's-
actually, Ken,
that's
you had a
not true.
comment there?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a newbie. I'm just an affiliate, but I'm on one of the working groups. And, you know, one thing I would say is, you know, if you're teaching a kid how to walk, you don't hit them over the head because they can't run. So we're crawling. I mean, we're just getting started. I would also say that, you know, if there's something that the group isn't doing that you think it should be, then avail yourself to, you know, volunteering and being a part. You know, this New York thing, maybe that's a good example to have a New York chapter of the PMA. You know, maybe that's one way to approach it. And we're open to those kinds of things. I mean, that's what we're trying to figure out. I know, you know, and I think that's good. And if we can get some of that energy into our group that you've used and that ability, that would be helpful. But I think having said that, we also need to address other issues that might be on the table besides just the New York tax issue.
So Melissa, thank you, and I hope you will become involved, and I hope you'll at least let us, the organization, prove to you that it is made up of people in the industry that want to help the industry. So hopefully we can prevent this from happening again. So, other questions? I hear a lot of whispering here, so I think there's questions. Do we want to put one of the wireless mics on the mic stand here, so people know? It's a great idea. I think. Go ahead.
I might have missed it because I came in late, and I'm sorry. How do we find out what is happening with the PMA? First of all, I want to commend you guys. I think it's great, and regardless of timing, change happens frequently because something bad's happened and there's a catalyst. So that's just kind of how the world works. And I am a New York affiliate, and so that's just so you know that, okay? And I'm perfectly happy. What I wanted to find out was, you know, how do I join the PMA, and also, have you guys gotten to a point of creating a mission statement so we can kind of find
That's
it?
the kind of thing we're working on right now, exactly. As far as joining, I'm not the membership person, but...
Or even just if I want to find out how to get information on what's going on and what you're doing and all that stuff.
PerformanceMarketingAlliance.com. It's a blog that we're trying to keep updated with our real-time progress. However, it's been pretty quiet because all the working groups have had their head down working. We had some great meetings where I think we came up with a mission statement in general that says we as a group want to improve the effectiveness of performance marketing. Now, what does that mean? Well, that's up to the membership to decide what that means, but we all want to make sure that we have an environment where we can all be successful business people. And I think the effectiveness can be making sure that we aren't legislated, to make sure that we have open communication and transparency between partnerships, so that we don't get bad press and that doesn't inhibit our growth. And I think that's an opportunity for a lot of different member groups, member constituents, to form your own special interest groups or working groups, like a New York affiliate group, where you can come together and decide, here's what we need as a group to be effective. So that's a starting point. It's a baseline. It's got a lot of room for improvement. Membership, we're not an official organization, so we're sort of in this chicken and egg thing. We're not incorporated, so we can't really take membership yet, but we're hoping. We had a number of discussions, and we hope to have some specific answers in the next couple of weeks on how we can actually form officially, legally, and start accepting members, and what it means to be a member.
That's good.
So we're going to put one mic up here for questions, and then we'll have Carlos with the roving mic if other members, folks down in the audience, want to answer those questions.
What's wrong with affiliate marketing? Why are you performance marketing? You started at Affiliate Summit. You said that in February, that's where the discussion started. You were at Affiliate Summit. What happened with affiliate marketing? I thought this was an organization to further and foster the issues that we have with affiliate marketing. So why performance? I mean, is the next step ad tech? It alienated me whenever you came out with performance marketing alliance. So why did you step off of that so quickly?
I preferred performance marketing only because it's more inclusive. Affiliates are part of performance marketing. Earlier there was a panel today, the ad networks were talking, and they were talking about CPA, where the action could be a percentage of sale, the action could be a flat fee, it could be for a lead, it could be for per click. The industry isn't just people being affiliates. There are people doing a lot more than that, and it opens us up and it makes us cover more people, a larger industry, a larger base of members, and we all share the same issues. Whether you're doing lead generation or whether you're selling for Pets Warehouse, you're all in the same industry and we all have the same concerns.
I
My opinion.
I agree with Brad. I feel the same way. I think we want to access a larger group of people, and performance marketing includes a lot of relationships. They go back to the model. You can engage with a very large number of partnerships, and if those partnerships perform, it becomes a win-win. And people should be aware that a lot of relationships that they have right now that they might not think of as affiliate marketing falls under the umbrella of performance marketing.
He's going to have Steve there. I have a comment too. I was just saying, Steve?
Yeah, I'm actually one of the big proponents of the word performance as a better word in the long run. And I think if you think about this industry 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, the affiliate word has a certain connotation, and maybe that's how it got started. It actually got started as associate and then turned into affiliate, if you think back to Amazon being the first. The reality is about 50% of the revenue comes from direct relationships through the networks. And when you have a direct relationship with someone, it's really demeaning to call yourselves an affiliate because you're not. So if you only talk about affiliates, you're talking about a very small portion of, and I'm not even talking about the ad networks, I'm just talking about just the general, what business are we in? We are in the performance marketing business, which is CPA, which is cost per action, and then there's either leads, sales, or referrals. It's a much better definition for what it is we do. One other note is there's 2 other industries that call what they do affiliates. AdSense affiliates is one of them, and we had a keynote speaker in January who was talking about the AdSense industry, about how bad that industry was. He wasn't really talking about the affiliate industry, in my opinion. In my opinion, what he was really talking about was, so there's a lot more negative to affiliate, as well as domainers call themselves affiliates of Google as well. Whereas performance marketing, we're getting paid on the action. It's a much better definition, in my opinion, as with a lot of others who I've talked to, about really where we're going now and where we're really going in the future, which is about getting paid for transactions. So,
if you have a question, you might want to come up. We've got someone coming up here to this microphone for questions.
Not quite as tall as Chuck.
I'm just trying to get my arms around what you all are doing at this point. And if I think of you as a chamber of commerce for the performance marketing industry, whatever you define it as, is that an accurate term of what you're after?
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, and our discussions in the scope group, that's kind of a good analogy in some sense.
It's feeling like a chamber of commerce meeting right now. It's not necessarily bad.
Right. But at the same time, we also want to enable the wider representation, and not just helping people, who are bigger businesses, et cetera, but we also want to bring in the entire industry, whether you're big or small or medium-sized, whatever, and enable you as a person to do things like, find better health care, or, help your business become more efficient by, access to conferences and that kind of stuff. So
that sounds a lot like a chamber, what
you
do.
Right.
But I'm just trying to think, because some of your press and whatnot, I'm trying to think of just where you're going, and it's hard because you're still at this.
Yeah, because we are still trying to figure that out as well.
And so that's why I'm wondering, are you going more along the lines of a chamber model for those of us who don't have a geographic location? Because when I go to the local chamber, I'm like, there's no point in me being there.
Right. Yeah, I think it's part of it, but it's possibly even more overreaching, because what we want to do also, if we have an organization and the media is going to go write an article, They can call up the CEO or the executive director of this association and find out what it is we really do, and find out, oh, affiliates, they're real people. They're people with families. They're people with kids. They're not just these guys in a dark room somewhere sending out spam and doing pop-ups and all this other stuff. So we want to be able to have the press presence.
I think if you all could talk a little bit more, and I know you're just forming, but what your visions are as you're forming, because right now it's hard to even ask a question.
Yeah.
You know, quite
I know.
frankly,
It's squishy, and you can't
it's
get a
not-
hold on it.
You can't get your arms around
Right.
exactly what all these people in the different working groups are really chatting about. It's a little more, I know substance is hard right now, but.
Yeah, and I think a couple of words that have been used a lot when we're talking, trying to describe what we want to do. We want to improve the visibility of affiliate marketing or performance marketing, and we want to improve the credibility of performance marketing too. We suffer from this unfair reputation, and the black hat affiliates are, or the activity, I should say, I don't want to blame affiliates, there's many people involved in that area, get a lion's share of cause the bad press, and so we all get tainted by that. So we want to make sure that as a collective industry, we're reflected properly, in addition to, you know, helping us all commercially become more successful.
And that's a great question, so thank you.
Hi. Rebecca, you said you're paid full-time, is that correct?
Yes.
Well, being that, why didn't you go to Albany? I mean, you can say that these people are volunteers. You're not a volunteer. I think you should have made a presence in Albany.
But she's not the PMA, though.
I'm not the PMA. I'm sort of the cat herder, as I've been called. I'm really just trying to organize. And so if I did go to Albany, I feel like I would represent an organization that didn't exist and represent constituents that I had no business representing. So I'm really just being, thank you. So I'm really just being, my salary is really just being sponsored to help form and organize.
Yeah, but then you could have reported to all your volunteers.
I think the organization that you ran does an awesome job of reporting it. I had actually thought, you know what, we'll try and collect all the information that's going out there. Couldn't keep up. It was no business of me as a blogger for the Performance Marketing Alliance to try and replicate what's already an awesome job being done by the people in the state of New York who have a real intimate understanding of what's going on. I couldn't kind of become there was no need, it would be redundant to become an expert, and that really wasn't what I was trying to do.
Why did you and the other members all divorce yourselves of ABW? And the interchange about your organization there on?
Yes, why we divorced ourselves of ABW.
I'd like to say that our company has a forum on ABW, so we have not divorced ourselves. There was a particular thread on ABW that at various times Rebecca, Brad, and I were on. I don't think Sam or Peter or anything else.
Sam was on. You made a comment.
Yeah. Anyway.
It was mainly the three of you.
Yeah. For me, that particular thread became very unproductive, and so I stopped posting there, and I personally stopped reading it.
Let me raise a hand. How many of you are in the room that are on working groups or on the FAB are active on Best Web? I know Michael Coley's involved. All those folks. All those folks are active. And we actually recruited people from Best.
In other words, they were direct questions. I know I asked several directly of you, and you just totally ignored them.
Well, I think that when somebody is having an exchange like the one that we're having right now, and one side, not you personally, but the other side in general becomes entirely unprofessional and discourteous, it's reasonable for the other party to take their lead of that conversation.
Yeah, my perspective on it.
And you think that's effective in forming a new organization?
Yeah. Well, my perspective on it was that I attempted.
Let Brooke answer the question.
I don't think that the actions that we took with regards to that thread and not being involved in that thread any longer are going to be harmful to us forming the PMA. I think that a lot of people.
We rather than yourself.
Well, I said I think that we.
You know, Bob, I gotta say, we opened this Q&A expecting some very challenging questions, and we're ready to take the challenging questions. And we really are here to try and get as much information and feedback as possible. It's a group of people volunteering their time, everybody that's involved. And so I appreciate the diligence of your questions, but I'd like to move on away from sort of the attacking questions and maybe let other people ask some questions.
Let's just go to where I'm going, okay?
Okay.
I think if you guys want to get any place, you need to open up again on ABW in a normal fashion of interchange on what you're doing and where you're going. I think for you to stay out of there, I think it's going to hurt. That's the majority of the members, the affiliates that are in the United States are there. And for you not to be in there and have a presence, I think you may fail before you start.
But there are a lot of people who are active on the Fab 11, who are active in the working groups, et cetera, that are very active there.
Yeah, but we need to keep people active.
We're not key people.
We don't have
I'm
key
a volunteer
people.
just herding
You're
cats.
as key as we know today.
Okay, well,
You may not be
that's
key
what I'm
in
saying. There is no
January
key
when the
people.
board is playing.
Rachel Honaway would like to make a response here.
I just have one comment for all of that. ABW is a great place. People are getting together and sharing ideas, but the PMA is something new and something different. And if you have ideas and you have views, then come volunteer. There are working groups and we're asking for volunteers. And for everybody that's saying that they're not being heard and we're not listening, or I shouldn't even say we, that these good people here aren't listening, come tell them what you want. That's all it takes. Come volunteer. Come be part of it.
I think too that the voice of what's being done on the PMA is being put on a blog so that they can update what's being done. And I mean, some people already think that maybe this is too soon to be having this kind of meeting, because I think the expectations and the desire to see something happening, it's too soon. They're trying to form literally a company, and it sounds something like it could be very easy to do. And if you sat through some of the meetings recently and listened to the choices that people are trying to make and the ideas, it's not something that is going to happen in a week or a month. And people are going to have to be patient until this group, until the organization is formed, and then you can start acting and taking on causes and people's concerns, and then it can evolve. But to try to do that and create it, I don't think it's going to be productive.
And I'd like to also partially answer Bob as well. On the ABW threads, I tried to answer factual questions that I could possibly answer. And I think the issue is many questions were being asked that did not have answers. And so the answers might have been ignored because, it's like asking, what color is your next car going to be? It's like, I don't know. I can't tell you. And so when you have questions that are asked about something that doesn't exist, that doesn't have a mission statement, that doesn't have an executive director.
Barely had a name.
Yeah. It's hard for anybody to say, yeah, that's the answer. Well, possibly it's ignored, and maybe it shouldn't be, but from my standpoint, I only answered a question that I could answer. I wouldn't go off and say, well, I'll speculate that, well, maybe Rebecca's thinking this. I don't know. So
Angel,
that's my perspective.
did you have a question?
Well, yeah, and so I'll just kind of start off with a phrase, which is I think that anytime you're dealing with people's livelihoods, you can hear it in the room, people are going to get very passionate about how anything is going to affect their livelihoods. People worry about how things are going to affect their livelihoods. And even though they feel that they need an organization, because I think you hear a sense of need, they're also concerned about how that association will impact their livelihood itself and how they'll be associated to that organization if they should choose to be so. So I'm going to ask the one question I actually kind of expected Bob to ask. I definitely expected Heiko to ask, but Heiko's no longer here, which is, so it's the other elephant in the room. And I think Bob was kind of leading there, but didn't, which is, and in this industry, and I said this before in the FAB meeting, in this industry, people see conspiracies where, on anything, much less something that's going to affect their livelihood. So the question is, because I think somebody needs to ask it so we can solve the other elephant in the room, is because, Anik was gracious enough to give us this push. Otherwise we wouldn't even gotten this far, right? People are concerned in the different forums, especially on ABW, since ABW was talked about a lot, about there being another agenda in terms of Rebecca being a full-time employee for Onyx. So I think that at least should be discussed. So that way, because if we don't discuss this here in the room, threads are going to go insane. So that's my question.
Yeah, so what are you doing once the PMA forms and becomes a corporation and all that stuff next January?
January? Are you sure we can't do this by September? My time is being donated to form the organization. That's it. Once it's formed, I am not going to be in this role any longer. Part of the role of the operations team will be to put out a job description for an executive director, or perhaps another idea has been an outsourced management company that does these sorts of things regularly for associations. That's a decision that the board of directors will make when there is a board of directors. I am not applying for that job. So and you know, I'll just.
If you would like to, please volunteer.
Yes, because I got to say, I'll just say one thing here, which is I got myself into this. I absolutely love trying to do something that hasn't been done before. I'm personally very competitive. I want to see this through. I want to see this thing launched. If I wasn't paid to do this and take a hit every day and get my name absolutely tarred and feathered in a best web, if it wasn't my job, I would have said, heck with you guys, see you later, have a good time, knock yourself out. It was my involvement and my official capacity of trying to keep this thing launched that's made me show up every day. And it's been an amazing experience because, like I said, the response and the reaction from the people that are volunteering and offering to help, 10 to 15 times what I would expect it to be.
And just for institutional memory purposes, since there are a lot of people in the room, if you'll think back to Vegas at our last affiliate summit during the open mic session at the end, one of the things that came up was maybe we should start looking at having a group, like a professional industry association or something. And I think it's great for our industry in general, as vast and wide and complex as it is, to see where we were then and where we've gone now. And I know Lisa helped a lot with that. So.
Really talk about it, but I want to say I was the person who stood up and told everyone in this room that I would gave them my email and told them if they wanted to do something or had suggestions or wanted to get something together, that I would gather all that information and create something that I would present at this. And there were only a handful of people who reached out to me in any kind of way to say, here's what I think we should do. And, you know, here's my idea. So, you know, it was out there, and it wasn't until it became more formalized through Rebecca that, you know, something occurred.
Right, because we've tried to do this 2 or 3 times in the past as an industry. We've all been in this thing for a long time, or some of us have. And you know that if someone isn't being fully paid or fully, you know, tasked with doing this to help get this thing going, it's going to have a higher chance of failing than it will succeeding based on our history. So, you know, I mean, Rebecca's been an incredible asset to this industry, to this. And whatever this is, we still haven't formed. If you want to be in this, please volunteer. We need your help, and we would love to have you on board.
Do you have a question or a comment? You have a comment. Okay, then we have a question over here. So we'll finish the comment on this dialogue, and then, sir, we can have a... So I'll let this gentleman over here have his comment first.
I am in no way, shape, or form a public speaker, and I'm probably not even well spoken, but I'm a little affiliate. I'm not big. I don't make $1 million a month, and I just basically want to know how you can assure me that after you guys form and the big corporate boys come and start handing you piles of cash so you can keep going, can you assure me that I'm going to maintain my voice, that my vote counts? Bottom line, I want to know how I'm not going to wind up tilling the fields and I'm going to wind up getting plowed under.
I completely agree with that. And I mean, besides having that built into our bylaws, built into our board of directors, mission statement, and all that stuff, I mean, I guarantee, I mean, I'll write it down for you as far as I'm concerned, but I'm just one person. And volunteer, make sure that happens. If you feel passionate about something in the industry, volunteer, make sure your interest is included in how this works out.
That's probably one of the primary things that's been discussed and agreed upon already in all the meetings.
Yeah, exactly.
That we need to make sure that an individual contributor can have a voice and not get lost by a larger contributor or company. It's everybody is for that.
Yep. Yeah, we haven't made all the answers yet, so we don't know what the answers are.
Oh, that's a common thread.
Big subject.
Everything that it's been discussed is that people have been hypersensitive about
Yeah.
it too. Like, everybody's concerned about it.
But the mood of every working group meeting and everything else has been that will be included.
Yeah, we understand that the affiliate industry is an entire ecosystem, and if you take out any one part, it fails. So we have to make sure that the affiliates are strong. We have to make sure that the merchants have an industry that will continue to grow. We have to make sure everybody's got a voice. And this has to be an association that covers everybody. We can't have people saying, oh, well, I control it because I put in all the money. That's not going to happen.
So this gentleman here has a comment finally.
For those of you that know me, I'm a search guy, so I'm not really on one side or the other. But I think we're all suffering from a little bit of short-term memory loss. If you just remember the keynote this morning, and the spirit of that keynote was a lot more about you get so much more back when you give. And I can see what's happening up here as a total outsider, and I'm like, I wouldn't want to be in any of you guys' positions. But I say that because people want your help, but then I hear a lot of negativity, and I see a lot of daggers being thrown, and as an outsider that's not impacted too much either way, I'm telling you, I can just see it as a total outsider that there's a certain point at which when you're volunteering and you're getting beat up for something that you no longer give it your all. So the ultimate end, whatever it becomes, won't be as great as it is if people don't take the time to actually help instead of just throwing daggers. So kind of remember the spirit of the keynote today, and that you'll get so much more out of whatever you're trying to do if you're helping and being a part of the solution instead of just throwing daggers. So as an outsider, I just wanted to say it because I kind of feel bad for you guys, and I have no idea what all this is. But I just feel that there's a lot of people directing things towards you that I know I wouldn't want to put up with if I was trying to do something that I felt was genuinely good. So I commend you guys for sticking it out, even though I still don't know what you guys are doing.
We don't either. Thank you, Will.
All right, one last question.
But Rebecca, I just want to, because there's an issue that keeps coming up, and I think everyone, that once we get a little further along, we really want to get the PMA to a point where everybody in this room, whatever company, shape, size, color, affiliate, merchant, to be able to participate because it is a giant, as Brad says, an ecosystem and a community, and we really want to make sure that we at least get the founding pillars in place that then the members and everybody can come and participate within the community and help direct and participate in where the PMA goes, and that's a very important issue. It's not just us up here. That's why we want everybody in here asking questions, and engaging with everyone here.
Michael.
Hi, I'm Michael. I wanted to make a comment. I'm an affiliate, and I grew up in New York, so I do have a soft spot for New York. But I think first off, I think the thing that I think we all need to get along. It reminds me of in Los Angeles when Rodney King was getting beaten up and everybody was on the police, and it was a bad situation, and I think that everybody got along in the end of it. I think overall, I think we all appreciate the efforts of New York affiliates. The only reason I volunteered my time for this was I was online on Twitter reading about the tax issues in New York. I came across Peter at Media Trust. We started a dialogue saying, what a travesty this is, that no one cares. No one cares about New York, and this is going to spread from state to state. So because of that, we started talking about what could the IAB do to lobby? What could they do to help? And at that point, an organization didn't exist. Nobody got together. Everybody has regular jobs. They're volunteering their time to do it. They came out with hey, who could be on this board? It wasn't anything that was political or anything where they said, gee, we should have these people in these spots. Everybody gets paid a lot of money in their companies, and really, I mean, I don't know how much time people have volunteered for this, but we do have better things to do. So I think the sooner we get past the New York issue and move on, the better we'll all be. The second point that I wanted to make was that really anything that New York affiliates can contribute to the group, I'm sure that the information on the PMA site could be made in a more public fashion. You could join the group,
Anybody's welcome to contact me.
get involved.
I don't have time to join another group because I'm still working on the New York issue, but contact me. I told Angel, contact me. I just couldn't do it yesterday or today, or tomorrow.
And I think that's all you want. You don't want recognition for what you did, but I think you want to feel like you belong and have a voice.
It wasn't even a group. It wasn't even New York Affiliate Voice. New York Affiliate Voice is a personal website. wasn't associated with affiliate voice or anything. It was just a group of people, and all we needed was, all we wanted, I should say, was a little bit of, let us know what you're doing so that we know and we can follow through when we do get formed.
Well, if it makes you feel better,
I think you could learn a lot. We learned an incredible amount in the past 2 months on how to address the issue as a group, and a group with divergent views. We had all opposing views within our group, yet we still focused and we're still working on all the other issues. You don't have to agree to work to find a solution. And that's what we proved in all of these.
So you got a large, diverse.
We didn't have to be officially formed. We did it as grassroots. We were random.
Right.
We were just a bunch of affiliates. It wasn't a group. It wasn't organized. We met, we talked, we did it with respect, and we met as business partners, and we found the solution. And that's the key. And even with the PMA, it's not the PMA versus affiliate voice or any other industry group. You can all exist and you can all work towards a common goal.
Sure.
But you can't spend your time and your energy fighting one another. That's totally unproductive, and you waste your
Completely agree.
energy and all your
Yep.
resources.
Thank you.
But if
Yep.
you're going to Twitter down, you're going to disappear. You're not accomplishing.
Okay, we just have another minute.
Just
All
one
right,
last.
Steve, I'll give you the last comment.
One
I was
last
going to give
comment.
it to
First
Michael,
off, I just
but
want to end on a
don't let
positive
Steve
note.
out of the room without the last comment.
I want to end on a positive note, and first off, thank Rebecca and everybody else who's sit at the dartboards up there. I'm speaking at a panel tomorrow about the future of performance marketing because I think the future is unbelievably promising, and I think that those that don't should probably move on, find another job. But those that do, I think this organization, if we can get it formed, can make all of our jobs easier. And I think that is what I'd like to end with. So what I'd like to ask all 5 of you, if you can just real quick, is there anything everybody here can do other than being positive about the formation of the group?
I was going to say join and sign up to be a member, although we can't do that yet. So on the performancemarketingalliance.com, there's an opportunity to comment. Hopefully in the next few weeks, once we become more official legally, we'll be able to open up membership. There's an RSS feed. Subscribe to the RSS feed, and we'll keep you up to date on everything that we're doing.
Yeah, I've had my head down between work and my child and getting this thing going from the scope side, but I am the most accessible person I know, and I carry around 3 devices, including a laptop. My email, phone number, everything is completely out there. I will definitely approach you as we move forward if we get to that point where we need to, as far as issues and that kind of thing, but as far as getting things started, if you want to help, please contact me. I do read forums, I'm everywhere, so just say hi and how can I help? And we'll put you to work.
Sam says that, but he was not accessible at 3 a.m. this morning when we showed up at his room for the after party.
I opened the door.
He was at 7-Eleven getting a taco.
It was recovery.
This is a pretty important issue to all of us, and there's obviously a lot of controversy, and that's healthy to a large degree. So I think if everybody just stays involved, we have a great community, and I think that for me the most important issue is really publicity, and there's a lot of mundane stuff that I think we can cover to increase what we can do in our marketplace.
I'd say.
And I just have to ask, is there an open bar anywhere after this that we can all go to?
If we had
many drink tickets, if you'd like to have a beer with me, let me know.
Can I just ask one question? Do you have our individual email addresses on the website or contact information? Because you know what? If people don't feel comfortable with the organization, there are at least 1 or 2 people that they must feel comfortable having a personal conversation, and I'm willing to put my information up there or anywhere. And if someone wants to tell me how they feel, I'll keep it anonymous, but relay those concerns and represent that to people so that they can have a voice if they don't feel comfortable doing it in the way that we have it now.
We'll ask all the FAB and working group members if they'd like to have their emails up. Excellent idea.
I don't think they should like to. I think they should. Whether they,
Yeah, definitely.
I agree with that. I was going to say for my thing, just communication. Contact me. My email's out there pretty much everywhere. It's been out there since '94. So contact me.
Peter, any closing words, Peter?
I think everybody touched on it very well. It's just very, very important. to have everybody collaborate and reach out and get involved and get active and ask a lot of questions, and so we can be more effective.
Great. Well, thanks, everybody.